Welcome to the KINGSBEAT podcast, a Blue Wire podcast. I am James Ham, Kings Insider for ESPN 1320, the Kings Beat. Joining me today, Box 40, Sean Cunningham. Sean, how are you?
I'm no longer completely busy. I have a day off. This is fantastic. A nice day off to join you two guys, and I love this. And my favorite part of doing the show is always the show before the show. So that's
Okay.
always the best part. What's
Okay.
up with you guys?
We're also joined by Brenden Nunes from the Kings Pulse podcast. Brenden, how are you?
I am doing well. Nothing too special on my end, really. I love Sean teasing the listeners with things that they're never going to hear.
They can hear. Come on in. Let's grab a seat. Let's
happy hour conversation.
Let's fill you in. Yeah, such good stuff.
Sorry we missed this last week. We were supposed to go over the weekend and have the podcast, but then lo and behold, Sean got caught up in the middle of one of the most weird and random and scary things that I've seen in a long time. And that was the Ricky Pearsall shooting in San Francisco. You also did have a Mike Tyson video.
But I was probably more scared with the Mike Tyson situation. But yeah, great news that Ricky Pearsall is able to literally walk away from a shooting in the chest.
Is that not the craziest thing? I mean, talk about like near tragedy, just tragedy avoided somehow.
Yeah, and I'm literally in Berkeley at Cal as UC Davis football is kicking off their season. That game was already pretty much well in hand, and all of a sudden starting to get notifications and alerts and that something had happened involving Ricky Pearsall and had to go to work. And yeah, that was awful. It was awful. But the day before I had interviewed Mike Tyson, and that was a lot of fun and kind of scary at the same time, but certainly a pinch me moment for me growing up, watching him just be one of the most dominant people in the world. But you contrast that the next day and it's just like all different types of feels because of what Ricky Pearsall had gone through. And that was one of the coolest things about it, though, is like him being able to not only bounce back and survive and be this what even John Lynch called a miracle. I mean, it truly is to see something like that literally walk away. The crazy efforts from a police officer in San Francisco to be able to save his life and keep him safe, and then him having the ability to FaceTime his teammates after, while in the hospital, while they're at this party that he encouraged to keep going on with Rick Ross, and seeing Kyle Shanahan and all kinds of fun images that probably brought a huge smile to Ricky's face as well. And then less than 48 hours later, he's at the team facility in the weight room. I mean, just to know that he could potentially to know that he's going to actually be able to play this season and maybe only miss 4 weeks is just astounding.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't think we know at all how long he's going to be out for, especially through the chest. And, big shout out to Sean. The reporting on this was all over the board, and you were accurate, and you were one of the first, but you were super accurate while a lot of weird stuff was being reported, whether it was him getting shot through the arm or, like all of it was just like the reporting was a little all over the board. So good work, Sean. And did you see Elon Musk responded to your tweet?
I did, and I'll tell you, it's kind of
196 million Twitter followers. Yeah,
it's kind of jarring in a sense because it wasn't just like a repost or anything like that. It's all this is a lot of the reacting to the report that I had came out, and while I'm doing post game with UC Davis football, who just got beat by Cal, and so I come out of their media area, the press conference room, and starting to head back to work, and I'm just kind of glancing at my phone to mainly check in with someone else. And as I'm doing that, that's when the notification, again, not a repost, it's literally Elon Musk replying to me. So it says, like an interaction, and it's just Elon Musk replying to Sean Cunningham, terrible. And I'm like, what I do? Thinking that he's calling me terrible. But no, he's obviously weighing in on the Ricky Pearsall shooting. And that was It's crazy. I mean, it's just crazy. But yeah, there was a lot of information that was been out there that was spreading around, and it's just such a fluid kind of situation. And you literally have other police officers from San Francisco Police Department, some of which were there, who believe that he was shot in the arm at the time. And whether it's the arm or the chest, I mean, even the fact that he's getting up and walking away from it, the more important thing is that yes, he's stable, serious but stable, and was able to live, and it was a victim of a robbery over a Rolex, and yeah, just a crazy story.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
obviously glad that Ricky's all right. One of my first reactions, outside of obviously, like I said, making sure that he was all good in the scenario, is what a shit introduction to the city that you just got drafted to. I know that it's technically Santa Clara, but it's still what you're wearing across your chest, and that's one of your first introductions to it. That's a bad way to get introduced to a city in my mind that is supposed to be your new home in a way, or at least bordering it. And yeah, I mean, 17-year-old high school senior that has ruined his life. Dumbass shot himself while he was trying to get away, and that was that.
That's wild. Yeah. All of it's wild. I haven't followed the story that much after the fact. I mean, I knew right away it's 17-year-old, and I didn't know
from Tracy.
From Tracy, I knew that. I knew he was drove to the city to whatever, most likely rob people. Weird situation. So, I mean, it's a good thing he survived, and he gets to. We'll see how long it takes him out of the NFL, but I don't think that matters nearly as much as the fact that he's at least okay. Yeah,
and you know what? I know this is a Kings podcast, and we're going to get to that in a second. I have to say, one of the weirdest scenarios I've ever. I mean, I've been doing this, as you guys know, a long time. I'm old. Being there at the Niners facility on Tuesday, first time that the Niners are opening up their doors since the shooting, and having an actual practice. And you've got Brandon Ayuk back, who's got his contract done. You've got Trent Williams back, who's got his contract done, and both of them are talking to the media, and then John Lynch has to talk to the media at some point, and he's going to update everybody on Ricky. And it's just and you go into Niners locker room, we're talking to Juwan Jennings and some of these other guys about just how it hit the locker room. And it's just like, boy, this is week one. Like, you're getting prepared to play in your first football game of the season. And I know that takes a back seat to a lot of the stuff that's going on, but from a reporter standpoint, just a very odd, different type of vibe. And fortunately, it was lighthearted in that locker room and being around a lot of those players, because can you imagine what they must be going through given the circumstances, how awful this could have been, even worse.
Yeah, and I know Trent Williams was very clear. One of the reasons he came back into his holdout was specifically because of this. I think there was a little bit of a eye opener here. Hey, this is much bigger than football, and we're a family and all that stuff. So, Sean's phone is buzzing out of going crazy. All right, let's get into it. Number one business side. If you're watching here on YouTube and you don't mind, hit the thumbs up. Also, give us a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. That would be great. Secondly, jump on board with the King's Beat. Go to thekingsbeat.com. Become a premium subscriber so you get invites to all of our events and all of our things that we do here on the King's Beat, and you get everything delivered right to your inbox. It's kind of a quiet time of the year, of course. Things are ramping up. We know that the Kings had I don't know, a get together last week. Is that, I don't know how we're calling it. We all went to the Domantas Sabonis camp. We hung out with Domas, and then he told us, the team was going away, and everyone was meeting up in San Diego last week. I don't think we've seen a lot. Well, maybe I just haven't looked, but a lot of Instagram posts and stuff from that event. It seems like it was pretty under wraps with the team. Am I off base there?
It's the feeling I get. Yeah. But I think it's much like the retreat that they would have had in Napa. A lot of the players getting together and just holding a little reunion, team building, bond, chemistry, all that stuff. Doesn't appear like it went very long because I think a lot of guys are back in town just days later. So whatever it ends up being, it's pretty normal throughout the season. But yeah, it's kind of fun to see what does end up coming out and just seeing some new guys. I remember that just seeing yesterday back in town, you had Huerter sitting there next to Jordan McLaughlin. It's like, yeah, this is real. You got new players, you got new faces. So
yeah. Yeah, super interesting. Brenden, have you been tracking any of this?
Yeah, I mean, haven't really seen much on the last week of anything that really went on between all these guys, but obviously I think it's good for these guys to get together. Obviously, the adjustment of getting used to DeRozan, I think, is something that's going to be a process throughout the course of this season. I've related it before to kind of Milwaukee getting Dame and how there were learning curves there, even though some of it was maybe injury related. But some of those things happen throughout a season. So I think it's good to start getting some of that going early. And I think that if it's not this week, it's next that De'Aaron is also supposed to go to China with the Curry brand tour, as my microphone decides to fall on me. And they're going to open up the first Curry brand retail store out there, which sounds like a good time to actually show off these new Curry Fox ones or Fox Curry ones.
Fox Curry ones. Ooh, that's weird. Have we seen them yet?
We have not.
No.
I think we saw some people like attempt.
Yeah. Well, to say that I saw them, sure. Did I catch a glance of something? Yes, but I didn't. I wouldn't say I saw them. I don't know if that was the final product or prototype or whatever.
Like during the season?
A while ago. Yeah, it was during the season. So I don't think that was the final product. But at any rate, like I think that there's there'll be some differences from what I saw. So
okay,
not to interested. Me, I'm a sneaker guy.
Supposed to be like a strap across it and inspired by runners, apparently.
Huh?
That would make sense. He's very fast.
That is, yep, that's the logic for sure.
All right. We'll have to wait and see what they look like. We had a couple of little tidbits of news last week, and sort of bleeding into the weekend. I think the biggest news that we've got, we had two things. Let's start with the Sabonis stuff because we did hang out with Sabonis at camp. I thought that was really cool. Brenden, your dad and your stepmom and your little brother was there. That was cool at Domas camp. And then, of course, we get to hang out with Domas a little bit. And then the news breaks. Well, it's not the news because we already knew the news. Shams broke this 6-8 months ago that Domantas Sabonis is going to be part of Starting 5 on Netflix beginning, I believe it's October 9th, where they're going to follow 5 players through the NBA, including Domas, LeBron James, Jimmy Butler, Ant-Man, and Jason Tatum. And I don't know. I think that's going to be pretty cool. And I think it should give Domas a way to kind of show the other side of him, which we see a little bit of, sort of the lighthearted side, the fun side, like the Family Guy side of Domas. But what are you guys' thoughts on sort of these Netflix series that really, I think, do a good job of humanizing some of these players and giving them a little bit more exposure to the outside world?
Yeah, I'm a fan. I think that they're fun. I've enjoyed quarterbacks was cool. Got to see specifically a different side of Kirk Cousins. I feel like it felt like in that one, receivers was pretty entertaining. I think it helps from my standpoint that there's 2 Niners in there, which adds to the appeal a little bit personally. But like you said, I think it's a cool look into the behind the scenes of all of this. The, guys having to move their families if they get traded and the impact that just it can have in people's personal lives, everything that's kind of going on here. So alongside Domas, it's going to be Jason Tatum, LeBron James, Anthony Edwards, Jimmy Butler. The comments under that announcement were really funny to me, I will say. Everybody saying,
what was your favorite?
Kind of the odd man out. Just pointing out that Domas is the only white dude and all the memes around it were really funny to me. That's what we'll say based on my favorites there. But yeah. I think that Domas will be pretty entertaining, even if he's maybe not as high energy as some of these other guys that have been in the spotlight so much. I still think that, we'll get some gorgeous views of a winery and him walking around, having some conversations. So I think it'll be fun. Like you said, October 9th My understanding is 10 45-minute episodes. It's going to be by LeBron James's Interrupted, along with the Obama's Higher Ground Productions and Peyton Manning's Omaha Productions.
Omaha. I'm really looking forward to it, and I agree. I actually have not seen all of the quarterback one. I have seen the receivers. I loved it. I thought it was tremendous. I think everything that these series do a brilliant job of not only humanizing them but showing different sides of personalities and the motivations, the everything that just surrounds these people. And I think it'll be an interesting. It's hard to in my mind, like I've always felt like sometimes like someone like LeBron just gets a little bit oversaturated because we know so much about him. He comes off as almost his own corporation in a way. And I still think there's like this mystique, if you will, and I hate to do the Jordan comparison, right? But like social media and all these avenues didn't exist for Michael Jordan. And so even to this day, that guy walks around as like, that's fucking Michael Jordan. Like there's so much you still don't know about even Michael Jordan, and that he remains a little bit elusive from interviews and things of that nature. For a guy who was plastered everywhere on newspapers and magazines and TV back in the day. So I still think for a weird reason, even in today's culture, there's still like this mystique. And with LeBron, for as great as he is, I don't feel there's that mystique because he feels like he's been so accessible. But I wonder how that, especially now, like his son is gonna be a teammate of his. He's so long in the tooth and older, and he's defeating Father Time in this weird way. I think that will be interesting. And it was funny for me to look back and go, what are we going to learn about LeBron? And the truth is, you can still learn a lot. I'm looking forward to Jimmy Butler because that guy endlessly entertains me. And certainly Anthony Edwards is quite a character, but I think Domas really fits in well here because to me, and we talk about it so much, he's a polarizing figure in such a different way because of the level of disrespect he gets for the style of game he has, being this like ultimate teammate and also kind of shying away from the limelight. And here he is not shying away from people access. So I think most of people will probably learn the most about Domas, and he's putting himself in a situation of the 5 athletes, he's going to be the one where I feel people are really going to go, oh, like you're going to learn a thing about Domantas Sabonis. At least you should. I haven't seen anything. I was talked to by this company. I don't know if I make the final cut. I don't know if you're going to see your boy in this. Maybe not. But I have not seen any finished. I haven't seen anything from it other than the trailer, and I thought the trailer was really kind of clever and cool. So it'll be fun to see what people will learn, including ourselves, about Domantas Sabonis, who, brand new father. I think some of this may have taken place at the time his daughter may have just been born. I'm not quite clear on the timetable, but yeah, I think it's going to be really, really interesting from that standpoint.
Probably get to see him play through a broken finger too.
Yeah. What if the Draymond stuff will get in there?
Right? I don't know. I mean, I think it's all happening after that. Like Sean, like we were both interviewed one day for it after practice, and like again, I don't know if Sean or I will make the final cut. I don't know. Brenden, I don't know who they interviewed, who they didn't throughout the process.
I didn't get talked to. It's fine. You guys are the OGs. I don't blame them.
Either way, like I think a lot of it was centered around the streak, like his double streak, and so some of that stuff. But I think the thing I dig about Sabonis is that like behind the scenes, he's actually, when he's not being interviewed, he's very funny. He's kind of a prankster a little bit with the other guys in the locker room. He messes with people. I think that there's like an authenticity that he'll be able to show in this that maybe you wouldn't have been able to get from just like the way that he interviews, or some of the brief sit downs that you see with him. I think that there will be a lot of like, I think America will actually love Domas when it's all said and done. I think he'll be one of the characters where you're like, it's not over the top, but everything he's doing feels real, and and I hope they're able to I hope they got his dad on camera. I hope that they got sort of that moment between the two of them, and like how this is a superstar's son, right? And that's just like, this could be one of the few. I don't even know, has there ever been a father son in the Hall of Fame? And I think there has been, but I like not anytime recent. And this would be one of those times where you look at a guy who, like, if he could get into the Hall of Fame, that would be a really, really cool thing. And I think this is a vehicle for him to get to be known, like, at least globally, at least here in the United States, if not globally. And I think it will impact like all NBA. It will impact like his All Star and stuff like that, because I think people will know him better and will feel more comfortable with who he is as a person, as opposed to sort of this, I don't know, quiet, fast talking, but kind of stoic big man. And I think it'll open a lot of doors for him. At least I hope so.
I feel like also from the media standpoint, like it'll be great for us because I think he even since he arrived in Sacramento, I think since then, like his interviews have become so much better. He's more relaxed. I feel there's still maybe a little bit of a nervous energy, but it's more routine. There's a little bit more of a comfortability there, and I remember kind of feeling that way after talking to him about on Zoom over the number change, because when he first got here, we had scrums. I did a kind of a sit down with him a little while after he had just been traded and kind of got settled. And then like that interview was very, very quick and rapid. And it was just like, okay, well, he just kind of wanted to get done with it. You could kind of tell. But this one was a little bit different. So a little bit more revealing and participatory. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this, not only the little storylines that can come from it, but also just how it might shape him going forward as well.
Yeah. It's good stuff either way. I mean, again, I think he's a dude that definitely like needs to be more humanized out in the NBA world, where people will have some sort of attachment to him. And like, I think the other thing is really going to kind of come across is just how much he loves his wife and children, being around them. You can see like him glowing every time he's with them, whether it's on the sidelines or wherever you see him. Like, he's a dad first. I think they do a really good job of doing social media with him and showing pictures of him and his family. But also, I think there's just another layer to it where he's very, very authentic. And I think it'll come across really cool on camera. Um, Outside of that, we had the Kevin Huerter injury update, which, there's a couple of things with the injury update, which I think we can dive into. But I think the biggest part is he's been cleared to work out. He's been cleared to shoot. He's been cleared to lift weights. But he has not been cleared for contact, and he won't be cleared for contact until at a minimum mid-October, and that's when they sort of have the final assessment of him, and say whether he can start going into full contact drills and stuff. Is that a problem for you guys? Mid-October, he's going to miss training camp. He's going to miss most of preseason, if not all of preseason. And like, we have no idea what his status will be fully, although there is a gap between the last preseason game and the start of the regular season, where he can likely get back on the court and start having contact and maybe get back into the rotation here.
Yeah, to your point, last preseason game, October 17th, that's the last of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the first regular season game is a week from then on October 24th, where they play at home against Minnesota. I mean, the first thing I think of is, the debate that we've had, that plenty of Kings fans have had all of last year and this offseason, of who gets that starting spot between Keon Ellis and Kevin Huerter. And this is just another one of those things that I think makes me lean towards Keon a little bit. If Kevin is not in, I'd be curious to hear your guys' thoughts on it in a sec, but what the level of game shape could be, because like you're saying, he's working out and everything, but non-contact up till that point, and how that could affect his sort of game shape when it comes down to it, being a guy that is so, one of his best skills is his conditioning and constant sprinting around. But if this means that Keon Ellis is going to start at the beginning of the regular season, what does that mean when Kevin does get back to a fully healthy point? Does he deserve to just slot back in there, even if Keon's playing well? So I think it adds an interesting fold there when, the best decision might already be to put Keon there. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe it might play out that way. And I think what's interesting here is, he had surgery on April 3rd, is when we got the notification of the surgery. It was successful, and that was the expectation, was that he would be ready for the start of the season. And so now, with the update that came in just the other day on August 30th, it sings a little bit of a different tune, in a sense that I think we all thought, okay, training camp will be fine. I don't know that this totally stunts his availability for the season. He's doing all the things that are necessary for him to be ready. As long as conditioning is going to be fine, and I think we all agree he looked really tremendous from what we've seen in terms of his conditioning and body. I mean, haven't seen him run necessarily, but at least in the images that we're seeing, even in short videos, like he looks great. So I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. But if you kind of compare that, like is that 5 months? Is my math right? June, July, August, September.
No, it's 6.
4 months from basically where we are right now, right? That'll be 5? If that was April, so May, June, July,
Yeah, so
August,
we just
September.
passed 5 months.
Yeah. So 6 months would be the start of October. You're still arguably just under a month away from the start of the season, but closer to another month away at that point. So I don't think it's really any cause for concern, and I don't know that it'll really stunt him so much to where, if you're Mike Brown, you're going, I think he's my starter on September 5th as we record this. I don't know that too much will change from that, but that remains to be seen. That's probably a question mark.
I think it's a question mark too. There's something else that I'm going to read the first line of the Kevin Huerter injury update. It says, Kings forward Kevin Huerter continues to progress through the return to play process.
Want to do it again?
Did you guys catch that word?
Oh, I definitely did. Well, go ahead and do it again.
Kings forward Kevin Huerter continues to progress through the return to play process.
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean anything though?
It does not. It matters not.
Right.
But yeah. I do like that people are getting a little squirrely over it.
I think number one, I don't know who wrote it, but he's not a forward. He's been your starting shooting guard for 145 games over the last 2 years. So why are you putting him as a forward unless it's a typo, which I don't think it's a typo.
I don't think it's a typo. No. But
to be fair, Mike Brown's always talking about how 1 to 4 are interchangeable. I think the 1 is definitely different from 2 to 4. It's just kind of about matching up. I recently wrote something of 1 area improvement for each Kings guy, right? And I separated it by guards, wings, forwards, and centers. Now I partially put Kevin into wings and forwards because there's a lot of guards and I wanted it to be a little even throughout it. But he's not he is 6'7", and probably technically a guard, but is there really a difference? Wing, maybe if we want to go between it,
he literally has started
forward.
100. Is it 146 games? Whatever it is, it's a lot. It's a lot. Add shooting guard. I mean, he's here starting.
Would you have been up in arms? Not that you're up in arms. Would you have brought it to question to the court here of the Kings beat? Would you have brought it to question had they put guard forward?
If they would have just put guard the position he plays, I wouldn't have brought it up at all. If it would have said Kings guard, it didn't have to say Kings starting shooting guard. It didn't even have to say shooting guard. It just probably should have said Kings guard. And that's okay.
Let's play a game. Let's play a game. What if this was DeMar DeRozan and they had to say Kings blank DeMar DeRozan? What do you think that would say?
We can look because the Kings signed DeMar DeRozan this offseason.
Did they put his position? I don't recall seeing his position in there. I could be wrong.
Let's see.
And I
Kings
didn't check for
Inquirer.
the record. I didn't go back.
DeMar DeRozan, Sacramento Kings announced today is 6-time All-Star and 3-time All-NBA guard dash forward DeMar DeRozan. There we go. Guard.
Now it's funny too because I did see a list, and look, I've always considered DeMar DeRozan a wing. He's a small forward in my opinion, but I do know that he fancies himself as a shooting guard at times, but I know that when people put him on, let's rank the small forwards in the league, he tends to be on the small forward list more times than anything in the shooting guard.
I know I went on the Dunked On podcast with Nate Duncan this last week. For those of you Nate does a good job of doing season previews, and actually, this podcast is one of the most wildly popular podcasts ever. It's very, very intriguing how that's all worked out. Him and Daniel Leroy do a good job. But he said, like, watching the tape and everything last year, that DeRozan play, like, defensively is a 4. That he's playing a lot more against power forwards than he is against anyone else. And I find that interesting too, because to me,
because they're slower. They're slower.
Yeah. And if you're going to have stretch 4s out there, that's fine. I mean, he's not starting at the power forward position for the Kings. He's either they're starting 2 or they're starting 3. And like, look, I've said this countless times. I'm okay with Kevin Huerter as a small forward. I actually think it would probably help Kevin Huerter defensively to be a small forward. He's not as strong, but if he's worked on getting stronger, he's not a super long athlete, but like footwork wise, I think small forwards on average are a little bit slower than shooting guards in the NBA. And certainly if you're getting swapped onto point guards quite often in the NBA, there's certainly a huge difference between the speed of an NBA point guard and the speed of an NBA small forward. So I'm okay with him being a small forward, and like whether it's starting or coming off the bench, whether like even if you have him in the starting lineup with DeRozan, it's possible that DeRozan is a starting shooting guard and he's a starting 3. But I just found that interesting that it was written that way. But that's just me.
Yeah, it is kind of funny for a team that has a clear lack of traditional forwards. Definitely stands out a little bit. But, I'm still ironing out new terms, but I'm really over the shooting guard, small forward, power forward in the modern NBA. I really don't feel like there's much of a difference. Like there is a size difference just to make sure you can match up with the other team. But I'm still workshopping the best alternate terminology here, because what even is a shooting guard anymore?
Okay. No, I get you. I mean, I think Kevin can be described as a wing, and I think the same thing for DeRozan, like a 2-3. I just found it interesting, mainly because he started for so many games at straight up as your 2 guard. I mean, we all know that you can call them forwards, whatever you want, but your starting forwards the last 2 years have been Keegan Murray and Harrison Barnes leading up to this point. And there's no question that they were forwards and Kevin Huerter was a guard. So you guys don't think this is going to impact him? I mean, I think it's good that he's getting really close, and actually all the videos that we're seeing, he looks like he's in great shape. He does look like he's moving really well. He looks like he's worked on his body a lot. And I think that all of that is a good thing coming into the season. We even talked to, Domas had the thing where he said that, Kevin is shooting the ball great. And then that was interesting. But yeah, I just find it interesting. So we can move on. We're not worried about Kevin Huerter.
I'm not worried about Kevin Huerter. I mean, let's see what happens during the season. We can maybe blame his shoulder on that, but he just can't replicate what he did last year. He's got to have a better year.
Yeah. We'll see how he looks. He's one of their most important forwards. So
I see what you did there.
We see what you did there. Also, does this give us any light into the Devin Carter injury? Devin Carter had his shoulder surgery on July 11th. So again, I don't know what that puts us. So it's a very similar shoulder injury. Although it's possible that Carter's was a little different. I don't know why. Like Kevin's is a dislocation and a tear of the labrum. So again, when his shoulder gets dislocated and pulled out of the socket, it usually pops out low and it puts a tear on the underneath side of the labrum. And then like baseball pitchers in the labrum, they get what's called a slap tear, where it's from too many over rotations, like, shoulder, like you start to fray, and then tear the labrum up higher. So we don't know about Carter, whether Carter's injury is like Kevin's or if it's a slap tear. Um, but it's still, if we're looking at a July surgery, so August, September, October, November, December, January, mid January is basically 6 months. And, again, Kevin Herter's going to miss, it sounds like 6.5, maybe 7 months. Maybe it gives us a little glimmer into, two athletes that are likely having a similar injury and may or may not have the same injury timeline for recovery.
That was the first thing I had thought, when I looked at the timeline of it, is I thought of Devin Carter. But to me, 6 months still puts him in January, like you mentioned, and I think that's the initial report to where that's where your next update will come. That's where he potentially could be resuming basketball related activities, cleared for contact. Might be, a little bit too optimistic by then, but we'll see. It's like you said, don't know if it's any different than what Kevin experienced, but um, everything I've been led to believe is that won't be a terrible thing for him. It's just a matter of recovering from surgery and getting going again.
Brenden, no?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Honestly, I hadn't thought about it from that standpoint. Obviously, very similar, damn near identical injuries, with some differences that you kind of pointed out there, James. But I think missing somewhere from a third to 50 or so games in the season, obviously could delay the sort of production that we see from him in his rookie year. But I think getting out there, even if it's the last 30 games of the year and the Kings are rolling, like it's really helpful for him to get out there. Stockton just released their schedule. It wouldn't surprise me if, as he starts to come back, that you work him through Stockton initially and see how some of that goes. But yeah, I mean, I'm really optimistic about what he can bring to the Kings. It's just about when for rookie year.
Yeah, I see that totally, and I would also caution people too that, like, when you get cleared to go back for contact, then you have to have practice, right? And if I'm not mistaken, like that mid January mark, that's right when the Kings go on their really long road trip, and it's going to be very difficult to get sort of that time in. So I think we're looking like post All-Star break would probably be a better timeline for a possible return, and then have him really working hard with the team the last 3 or 4 days, or the last 2 days building up to the return from the All-Star break. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he comes back earlier. But I also will tell you, like, if the Kings are rolling and a guy like Jordan McLaughlin is playing outstanding and Keon Ellis is playing outstanding and Kevin Herter's found his way and your team is playing really well, it's also possible that you don't take a rookie who didn't have training camp, who didn't have any offseason at all, that he just doesn't get to play. And we talk about the last couple of months of the season. Yeah, maybe the last week or two of the season, if it works out, you could throw him on the court. If you just need to, you're coasting in, whether as a playoff team or a non-playoff team. I think it would be a lot different if the Kings were a team that they were like the first 14 years that I covered this team, where they were a non-playoff team, and you could sneak a guy in at the end of the season and give him that last 20, 25 games to really get loose. But maybe that happens for him, maybe it doesn't. I would just point that out to people that there is that big road trip. There's a later road trip that's rough too, and once you get into the regular season, it's really difficult to stop everything and try to get someone up to speed, especially someone who missed training camp, who missed
Yeah,
preseason and the
but you
first
also,
40 or 50 games.
you could have like one of those games where it's lopsided one way or the other. And even
Yeah.
if you are cruising, you might stumble into one of those games, or you might even be the team putting another team on the ropes, and he can maybe come in for a fourth quarter and get something. I think there's a lot of opportunity for some burn, if he's ready to go, and I think they want to get some stuff on tape. And as Brendan pointed out, I think G League could be right there for him, especially if they are on that long road trip. So good news is he'll be around the team. He'll be able to see, everything that's going on and experience. And I'm curious to see how much he might be able to participate, even in possible walkthroughs and, film sessions. Obviously he'll be there, but various activities that the team will have. And that'll be, I don't think his rookie season will go to waste, but once he gets back out on the court, it's he could be one of those players that, if for as corny as it sounds, depending upon what they do at the deadline, maybe that's somebody you're adding to bolster your rotation and your roster, to kind of give you a spark. And maybe he's bringing exactly what is going to be needed. And if I'm a betting man, what he adds to the table for Sacramento, even as a rookie, the style of play in which the stuff he offers in terms of style of play is needed very much so on this team. So if they still need that stuff come February, I kind of think they will. I think that'll bode well for him as long as he's ready to go and healthy.
I think the deadline thing you mentioned is definitely interesting to me. It's going to be about the 7-month mark from his surgery when we reach the deadline. And the big narrative when he got drafted, the big thing talked about obviously was the logjam of guards, and his unavailability to start the year sort of clears that up at least a bit. But it'd be interesting to see that if, you got 2 weeks of him looking all right and say Kevin Huerter still wasn't looking great, or there was still maybe a little bit of a down year, like does him coming back prior to the deadline and showing you something change the way that you decide to approach that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting. It's going to be fun to watch it play out because he's very talented, and I think he does fit this roster really well. But he's also going to come in and he won't know what his role is. He won't know what his job is. And, we watched a lot of that with Colby Jones last year when he did get opportunities. It was so forced. And, he had moments where it was like, oh man, look at how this guy's all over the court. Look at how he's, diving for balls. He's going up for huge rebounds, all this stuff. But at the same time, he never looked comfortable at all with the main team. With the G League team, sure, he had moments, but I think it's just I'm pointing Colby out because he was a rookie. He was an older rookie, and while he's a second round pick versus a number 13 pick, he still was a guy who was considered a top like 25 prospect in that draft. And just a transition from the NCAA to the pro level, it's very difficult, especially if you're not a player with something that is very defined in who you are and what you do. So, like if this were Keon Ellis, and Keon Ellis is only being asked to play defense and shoot the 3 ball, that's much easier than a guy like Carter who, like, are you a point guard? Are you shooting guard? Like there's a lot more variance to who he is as a player. He's not just a 3-point shooting threat that plays defense. And so I think it complicates things as opposed to just going out and having like a repetitive one type of job to do each and every night. And then sort of building from there, letting you like expand your game as you go. I think he comes in as a player with like more game, and that doesn't always translate very quickly in the middle of the season for a player, just in my opinion. So, cool. What else do we got? Anything else happening? Did we miss anything?
What are we? What about like 25 days from a media day or something like that? So we'll be resuming Kings coverage this month, huh? I know. I could use. I need more summer, and it feels like summer like right now weather wise, which is phenomenal. So I'm loving it.
I got a little trip to Vegas here coming up. So before the season, I'll make sure that we get a trip in. Yeah.
Is this the Gaga trip?
No, because we did Gaga last time.
Oh, that's right. What did you get reimbursed for? Was it? That was Gaga because
Gwen
it got
Stefani.
canceled. Oh, it was Gwen. Oh, you're going to Gwen Stefani. Okay.
Okay, so we had the first trip was supposed to be Gwen Stefani and Lady Gaga. The second trip was supposed to be Gaga and Ed Sheeran. And the Ed Sheeran show got canceled at Allegiance, like while we were sitting across the street, ready to go in. But we still got to see.
That sucks.
We still got to see Gaga. Yeah, the first trip got destroyed by the pandemic.
So James, who does not go to Summer League, is heading to Vegas for...
Oh, it's a friend's 50th. So, like, the wife and I are going.
Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah, we're
That's
going to
awesome.
go have a little fun.
Where are you guys staying?
I don't know. I think the plan with the group that we're going with, it's like a couple of, like, out of 5 or 6 couples, maybe 7 couples, is to stay in, not on the strip, but in downtown, like the Old Town.
Oh, Old Town Vegas, yeah.
Which has some nice hotels, and it's just a different vibe. So I think we're going to go there. I think it's because the couple that the wife is turning 50, they like to gamble, and you don't want to gamble on the strip. It's just like outlandish. The table minimums are like $50 at a lot of the tables. It's just like you can't even sit down and have a good time playing blackjack.
Yeah, you'll find the $5 minimums up in the North Vegas for sure.
Yeah, go to the Sticks. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna go like to a buffet or something. We'll be downtown to have dinner and stuff. But yeah, sweet. I don't really think we have a whole lot else. So Brenden said he watched a couple of movies. Brenden, I don't believe you, but go ahead.
I did. I had a little road trip. I flew down to my dad's, and then we drive over in SoCal, and then we drive over to Park, Arizona. Was there last weekend, and a little bit before that as well. We watched. I watched Twisters on the way there, which was really good. Actually, I really
did. You see the original?
I thought that was a very well done movie. I didn't know there was an original. Shocker.
Oh no, Bill Paxton
had no clue.
It's technically a sequel, my guy.
The great Bill Paxton. Ah, man,
I didn't know it was a sequel. Well, I didn't feel like I needed to know it was a sequel at all.
There's not much.
And then the other one I watched.
Okay, go ahead.
The other one I watched, this was a little later after we got back, and a lot more. Let's just throw something on. It was, what's the earthquake? It's San Andreas with.
Oh God, that's awful.
Dwayne Johnson.
It is.
Yeah, that
horrible.
One wasn't great. That one wasn't great. But
I watched it. Oh my! Goodness.
I also watched most of A Quiet Place. I fell asleep at the end. Not gonna lie.
Oh, okay. I did watch. Did we have Sean?
Quiet movie.
Oh, Sean's back. There we go. Sean disappeared.
It's kind of a quiet movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's true. And then it gets real loud out of nowhere, and I'm somebody that's constantly adjusting the volume because I'm bothered by it just being so loud randomly. So it was all right though.
I've actually never seen. I haven't seen any of those the Quiet Place movies, but but yeah, check out check out the original Twister. Okay, because even Twisters doesn't have. It's not like a whole lot of evidence that it's a sequel. There's just like one little thing that kind of bridges the two movies together. But yeah, check it out. I think you'll like. I actually think Brenden would like that if he likes Twisters, which I did too. I think you'll like it.
The late great Bill Paxton, which you don't know who that is. He's like all kinds of things. He's Chet from Weird Science, the big brother.
He has no idea what that is.
Sure.
You've never seen Weird Science? Oh my gosh. I did have this discussion with his dad, just so you know, Sean. I had this discussion with his dad.
Yeah.
He said he often feels like after listening to the podcast that he let his son down. And I think he feels guilty because his son doesn't have any sort of pop culture references at all. So
his dad.
The funny thing is, my dad does the same thing that you guys do.
Good.
Like my dad's
That's
huge
good parenting
guy, and we watched a bunch of things growing up, and then I just didn't keep it up on my own.
So where did you lose your way? Where did he lose his way?
It all went towards sports and YouTube, really.
Speaking of great parenting, can we talk about our guy who made the journey to Domantas Sabonis's camp? With that we all met at the camp there. What a great guy. Brenden, go ahead. Let us know.
Hold on. I hate to be that guy, but I wrote your name down.
Well, no,
to
it was
sure that we would remember. And I totally.
They live on the Oregon border, and his daughter is a huge Sabonis fan. Austin, yeah. Do you have his daughter's name? That was the one I was trying to remember. I knew Austin's name. We talked to Austin. I got to meet his daughter, but I forgot it. I'm sorry, Austin. If you're listening, I forgot your daughter's name. But this was cool because she was coming down. She had this circled on her calendar. Huge Sabonis fan. Literally the next day, she's starting like school, like high school or
so they had to drive all the way back?
To travel all the way back just to make school the next day. And just that level of commitment and how big of a Kings fan that both of them are. And, they listen to us and, look, they like, I don't know. It's always so weird when people, talk about how much that they listen to find their Kings information. It's cool, but it just, it's always kind of a fun feeling to hear that. And I'm always looking at them like, why do you do that? Like, we're just three idiots just kind of, shooting the shit. But I like
know a lot of stuff about the Sacramento Kings, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. But I do love the fact that like that level of commitment to come back, come down, get to interact with your, use the camp as a factor to meet somebody that you look up to is really just awesome. And for Austin to be able to experience that with his daughter, just way to go. That's a cool girl dad right there.
Yeah, I'd add to Sabonis. That was one of the cool things I thought with Domas was this was his first camp that he's got to do, but he grew up going to camps because, of course, his dad is former NBA player, and he went to a lot of these camps, and you could just see him like first unsure and not knowing what to do because you're this big tall guy and everyone's cheering for you so you can walk in the door, and then it's like you don't know what to do. Like he doesn't have a job at the camp other than to be there and to greet people. But then to see him sort of figure it out, and then was watching. There's this little tiny girl that couldn't get the ball up to the basket, and she shot 4 or 5 times. He kept bouncing the ball to her, or other people kept getting the ball and bringing it back to her. And I thought he would go over and like lift her up and get her closer to the basket, but that's not what he did. He called for a pass and she passed it to him, and then he dunked, and everyone's cheering. And I thought you could see him start to figure his way through the camp. And I thought it was really cool to see him kind of like realizing like how he fits into the world with a bunch of little kids. And of course he has his own kids, but I thought it was a cool scene for him. So
I saw that moment too, and it was so funny because she might be all of maybe 2 feet tall,
yeah,
and she was frustrated. The minute he dunked it and she was able to give him the pass for it, like instant day. That was you could tell it was the highlight of her day, and she wanted to give it to him again for him to do it again. It was so funny. It was so cute.
Well, and she's the one that got to pass it to the guy who got the dunk.
Right.
And you can see that like
The
all the other
smile.
kids are like, oh my gosh, it doesn't matter if I make the shot or not. I want to pass it to him so he dunks.
Yeah.
So,
she went from, well, yeah, it'd be nice to make the shot. I can't get the ball up there. Oh, this is much better.
Yeah.
Like she absolutely, let's do this again. And she did.
Yeah, it was very cool. Very cool stuff.
He played a bunch of one-on-one with campers throughout the whole thing. What was it, a 4-hour thing? He was there the entire time.
Yeah.
And my favorite portion is, again, as it went on, I think that you explained that well. You saw him get more comfortable, but there's a point where, I don't know, they have like 8 courts in there or so, give or take. And they have a bunch of games going on, all separated by age. And at one point, Domas was going around and sitting on every team's bench and just talking to them and hanging out with the players that were on the bench while a game was going on. A guy's playing, he'd look over and see Domas sitting on the bench. And I just thought it was a really cool interaction. And for him to be there the entire time was cool. Everybody seemed to love it. My little brother had a little fun interaction with him at a point, and it was cool.
Very cool. Okay, what do we got for final thoughts? We'll start with Sean, since Brenden already talked about some movies, and then he can't talk about movies anymore because he's only seen 2.
He only saw 2. Oh, what the hell are my final thoughts? It's probably non-Kings related. Yeah, let's go with the Niners, man. NFL starts today. The season starts today as we record this on Thursday. Got the Jets in week 1. Aaron Rodgers back in Northern California. I think it's going to be I'll be there. It'll be a fun game. I'm curious. I don't feel like I've got a great feel for this Niners team yet. I don't know about you guys, but I just don't feel like I do.
We've been talking about it every day on the radio.
Like, how many games would you give them? Like 10, 11?
12.
You're going to go 12. I'm not going that high.
12 and 5, I think, at a minimum. Yeah, I still think they're the most talented. I think they're the most talented team in the league. All right. Brenden, what do you got?
I've gotten really into baseball this year. I'm sure we've talked about this before.
Matt Chapman, baby. Back in the Bay. Sorry. There we go.
Yep. 6 years. I am super excited because he's been my favorite player to watch this year. I know I'm late to the train, but watching that guy play defense, and he's hitting the crap out of the ball this year, it's been great. And I was a little worried that they were going to lose him. And I will say A's coming to Sac next year. I could see me switching over a little bit here to an extent, but always going to have the Giants there. And I'm glad, favorite guy, him, Elliot Ramos, really the two that kind of do it for me so far this year, and have Chapman there long term. Love it.
Just imagine Matt Chapman with unlimited foul grounds, because that's where it was real fun to watch. Just saying. Yeah, he was a very good Oakland A. He was fun to watch. Great fielder, good dude. And yeah, that's good for him. I did not know that he was going to get paid like that. I thought that it was possible that just kind of the way his career was working out, that he may have missed the big payday. He would have still made lots of money, but the big payday, and I'm happy for him. That's very cool. Let's see. Final thoughts from me. Number one, I did watch The Fall Guy, and it just came out like on Peacock on and it's an extended edition. I was thoroughly entertained. I don't know if Sean, you haven't seen it. It's based loosely off of the 1980s television series The Fall Guy with Lee Majors. But my goodness, I thought it was a lot of fun. I was thoroughly entertained for like 2+ hours. Number two, I'm super excited for football. We got our drafts done. Kyle and I are sharing a team, which is weird, but we're sharing one with work, and we have the greatest name of all time for our team because we accidentally drafted Christian Kirk. So it's and we drafted DeAndre Swift, and we drafted Dicker the Kicker. So our team name is Swift, Kirk, and the Dicker. So that's a good one. And then lastly, what's that? That's a good, Swift.
It's definitely a fantasy name.
Kirk and the Dicker. Yeah. So and then Kyle and I, today was our 1-year anniversary on of doing the Insiders on ESPN 1320. 1 year in.
Nice? Did you get him anything nice?
I did. I got him a heated coffee cup, but had our my wife's one of her paralegals, her husband does like how you can have metal etched like things written, and I had our logo put on a coffee cup. So really cool.
Look at you.
But like a heated coffee cup, like the cool ones that have like.
All right, what do you get you?
Oh, nothing, I'm sure, but that's.
Oh,
that's okay. No. It's fun though. I like it's like having a radio show is different, and it's definitely fun. So it's a lot different even than what we do here, which we're about to turn 3 years.
I was gonna say, Sean, did you ever get a coffee cup? We're on 200 over here.
I didn't get shit. No,
I have a you one time. Your hoodie doesn't fit. Oh,
that's fine. Hey, Brenden, did I not see you at Future the other night? I don't think.
No, dude. I found out the day after, and I was pissed. Actually, I gotta be better about keeping up with what's going on.
Yeah.
No.
What happened?
I just shut up. No, I just did not realize. I totally missed it, and not happy about it. There's still a slight chance I go to Tom Segura tonight, and Ralph Barbosa is going to be on
Segura's tonight.
Today. Yeah, at Thunder Valley.
Do you have another ticket?
I don't think I do. Okay. I'll hit you up. I'll let you know.
Yeah, hit me up. That one I would go to.
All right. Well, we got to get out of here. Brennan's got to go do some sort of work, and Sean has a day off, and I think my dog's been locked up way too long. So it's one of those days
where out.
We can. Yeah, exactly. That will be me, Sean. I will let the dogs out. Let's see. If you're still watching, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Rating and review. Jump on board with the Kings Beat. We are working on a live off the record with the Kings Beat meetup of some sort. So
there we are.
I'll let you guys know ASAP. So cool. All right. So that's Sean Cunningham, Fox 40 Sean Cunningham. Look at that. I didn't go crazy. And there's Brenden Nunes from the Kings Pulse podcast. I'm James Ham. Thanks for tuning into the Kings Beat podcast. We'll see you next week.